I was going to start stacks in this video, but before that, we need to cover the basic concept of functions. So we're going to start functions in this video. So what exactly are functions? We make functions so that we can break down our code into different parts to make it easier, much more simpler. So they're basically modules that do different activities that carry out different functions of the code. And in each function we pass a parameter. Like in math, we have f of x. So x is the parameter for the function x. This works in a similar way. So what if I have a function that takes a name from a user as input and greets them, says hello name. So the syntax of defining a function is def names. So this is how you define a function. And in these brackets, there are parameters. Now, not every function needs to have a parameter, but if they do, you write it in the brackets. So here, I will take a parameter name. So def name, and what it does is it prints hello name. So this is defining a function. Now, a function is mostly it's longer than this. It's not a one-line function, but this is just an example. So now how do we call a function? We take names and then we add the parameter in it. So I want to say hello Python. So this is me calling the function. So here what it does is it prints hello Python. I can take an input from the user as well, that what's your name. So here user name input, enter your name, and then I can pass, instead of directly writing the name myself, I can pass the user input in the function. So first I have to enter my name. So here it says hello BCDE. So this is basically how functions work. So let's look at some other functions. Suppose we take a function, you have a function that tells us if a number is odd or even, and it takes a number as a parameter. So if number, which is the parameter, modulus 2 is equals to 0, it will print number is odd, else it will print number is even. So this is our second function, odd or even. So now how do we call it? We take odd even. First we call it with 6, then we call it with 7. So here for the first one, oh wait, I wrote it the other way around. It should be number is even, and then number is odd. Here it gives us number is even for 6 and number is odd for 7. Now these functions are directly printing the values. Mostly in functions we return a value. We return, for example, here, if a number is even, I want it to return true. If a number is odd, I want it to return false. Now the difference here is when we had print, it would go further, it would check the other conditions as well. But in return, once it returns a value, once it comes to return, our function ends there, it exits the function. But the difference is that if I call it here, it's not going to give me any value. So I would need to print the value after calling the function so that it would tell me what it's returning. So that is how return works. Now the functions don't always return a Boolean variable true or false. Let's try something else. So now here is an example where it's not taking any parameter. So let's take an array. I want to take the sum of an array. We discussed this in the previous video. Here I wanted to return the array. So this is how you call a function, even if it doesn't have a parameter, this is how you call it. But once again, it won't print anything. Oh, sorry, this is supposed to be some array. So even when I run it, it's not going to give me any output, even though it's returning the sum of the array. So for that, I would need to print this so that it can give me the sum of the array. Now, another thing in functions is variables. Now, if I have a variable num, and then I have a function, any function, and it also has num is equals to 7, and it's supposed to return num. So now I have a function that there's a num is equals to 5 and a num is equal to 7, and then it returns num. So if I call the function num and then I print num, here sorry, function, it's not. If I call the function and I print num, it's not going to give me 7, it's going to give me 5, because this variable and this variable, they're not the same thing. The variable outside the function is not the same as the variable inside the function, even if they have the same name. So if I print variable outside and then I print variable inside and then I call the function, it's going to give me variable outside 5, variable inside 7, even though here it's also returning num and outside it's also num. So variable with same name, if it's outside the function and inside the function, if they have the same name, that doesn't mean they're the same. So to do that, we need to take this variable as a global variable. Global means it can be used inside as well. So here, if I do global num, and then it's going to return num. Here, num is the same thing. All three of these nums are the same thing. Here we get outside 5 and inside 5 as well. And if I change this, outside here, because I haven't called the function, outside is going to remain 5, inside is going to be, it's going to change to 7. But here they are the same thing. So that is how global works as well. So for functions, if you're using variables that are defined outside the function and you want to use them inside the function or make any changes to it, make sure when you call them, you're using global with them. So that's all for this video.